Hello, welcome back to the channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings. We generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general, and in this video we're going to be talking about our top 10 free player games. When we're talking about free player games, we're not talking exclusively about games that are for free players only. We're talking about games that we think work best with free players. So if your top free player games aren't on this list, A, we don't give a shit, and B, it's probably because we haven't played them. So remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below. I'll see you after this. Bollocks. So number 10 on this list is a game that involves time travelling. It's Anachrony. Anachrony is a worker placement game where you'll be gathering resources, trying to prepare yourself for an apocalyptic event that you know is going to happen. The unique thing about Anachrony is that it utilises a sort of time travel mechanism that really does fit the theme really well. Basically, you'll be borrowing from the future, and when you get to that point in the future, when it's the present, if you know what I mean, then you'll have to pay back what you have used. So essentially it's like a simple loan system at its heart, but the way that the time travel mechanism actually works in the game really does amplify the theme and make the game quite exciting, right? Anachrony is really complex. There is a lot of downtime in this one, so we think it works best with free players. If you haven't got Anachrony and you do want to pick it up, make sure you get the Exosuit expansion, which blings the game out spectacularly. So yeah, Anachrony on number 10. So number 9 on this list is a game by Flying Frog Productions. It's Last Night on Earth. This is a 1 versus all zombie game, right? Flying Frog Productions are renowned for bringing a B-movie cinematic quality to their games. All the characters are photo realistic, right, which really does add to the theme. Yeah, Last Night on Earth is a scenario based game. You're going to pick a scenario out of the book, then one player's going to be playing the zombies and the other players will be taking the role of the survivors, trying to fulfill the objectives in the scenario, right? Last Night on Earth can drag on if you play it with loads of players, so we like to play it with 3. It's got a modular board system, so every time you play this, the town is going to look a little bit different, and it's got some wonderful miniatures for its time, right? It's like an oldish game that predated the Kickstarter revolution. So when we're looking for a free player scenario based hack and slash game that is basically just chewing gum for the brain, this is one of the first ones that we look at, right? You love it. So number 8 on this list is a game that is a sort of treasure hunting sort of game. It's Tobago. If you play this with the full player count of 4 players, it is a little bit like wading through quicksand, and the game moves a lot more speedier if you're playing it with 3, essentially searching for the location of the hidden treasure. And to do this, you'll be playing cards and basically narrowing down the location by removing different aspects of the terrain. The location of the treasure is not predetermined, so you're not actually looking for anything in particular, basically just trying to narrow it down on the fly. It's a bit of a weird concept to explain to people when you're playing it, but the way that this game erupts at the end, and there is a volcano expansion, funnily enough, the way this game erupts at the end with everyone making a mad dash towards the treasure once the location has been revealed, really does make this quite exciting, and it does flow really well with 3 players. So if you want a unique theme, if you want a game that moves really quickly and a unique deduction game with some quite novel mechanics, then Tobago, you can't go too wrong with it, can you? Not me. So number 7 on this list is Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island. This is a quite, or when we bought it, it was quite complex, but I think they've refined the rulebook and made it a little bit easier to understand now. This is quite a complex game, so playing it with 4 players makes it a little bit of a chore to play. I usually play this either on my own with the Friday dog combo, sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Or I play it with 3 players because that way you can all coordinate easier. There's less cooks to spoil the broth, so to speak, you know what I mean? But Robinson Crusoe essentially is a survival game where you will be trying to gather resources and take actions that are going to stave off disasters that keep on happening. You're going to have to build a shelter that's going to save your bacon from the elements. You're going to have to battle wild animals, and the thing that makes this game unique is that there is a system of cards or threats that you can defer till later on in the game by shuffling them back into the deck. But if you do that, you're going to get a temporary reprieve, but they're going to come back and bite you in the arse with double venom later on in the game, right? So I don't think we've ever beaten Robinson Crusoe. We might have beaten it once. It doesn't matter. Playing this game isn't about beating it. It's about laughing in the face of adversity on your journey through the island, right? So yeah, we love Robinson Crusoe. I've been playing this since it was released back in 2012, I think it was, and we absolutely love it, and it works really well with 3 players. Super. So number 6 on this list is going to be sort of cheating really, but it's 2 games really, and it's Agricola or Caverna, whichever one floats your boat. These are worker placement games, and in Agricola you'll be taking control of a medieval farm. In Caverna you'll be a dwarf who is essentially sort of playing a sort of a sandbox game really. You'll be taking actions by placing your workers out onto the board, and you'll be gathering resources, all the while trying to feed your family at the end of each round. It's a time limited game. There's a certain amount of rounds in each of these games, and the reason that we prefer these games at 3 players is because if you're playing with 4 or 5 players in Agricola especially, I think Caverna goes up to 7 players or something daft like that, then there's going to be too much competition for resources, and again the amount of downtime between turns is unacceptable really. Yeah, so one thing that makes Agricola really great is that you've got these occupation cards that change the game up every time you play it. There's an absolute wealth of these cards, so every single game you're going to be playing is going to be different. Caverna works a little bit differently in the sense that these cards have been removed from the game and replaced with tiles and stuff, and in Caverna you can go on little quests and all that sort of stuff. So the Agricolan system has been re-implemented many times in Caverna, Feast of Odin, and loads of other Uwe Rosenberg games. Yeah, it's almost like you should start leaving it alone now and start thinking about something new, right? Agricola changed the landscape, and it's a wonderful 3-player game. So number 5 on this list is a game by Martin Wallace. It's Brass. This is probably the driest game that I've ever played in my life, and it's so dry that when we play it we actually have to douse ourselves in water. Brass takes place during the Industrial Revolution in Lancashire in the UK, my home country, and it takes place over 2 periods. There is the canal period and then there's the rail period. What you'll be doing, you'll be building factories, making investments, and trying to link different towns and cities together to make as much money as you possibly can. The one thing that makes Brass special is the fact that you can snatch opportunities away from your opponents, right? Just when they think they're going to make a huge dividend, in you can come with your big ball bag swinging in between your legs, and you can snatch it from under their nose, right? Brass is a wildly popular game. It was recently re-implemented in 2 versions. I think Brass Lancashire, which is a reprint of this, and then Brass Birmingham, which I haven't played. I don't know which one's better, but if you play this with 5 players, you are in for a torrid time because you will be falling asleep at the wheel, and you're probably likely to crash into the central reservation, right? So Brass, whilst it's being dry, it is a mind fuck to say the least, and I love having my mind fucked. So number 3 on this list is a game by Vlada Chvátil. It is Dungeon Pets. This is a worker placement game where you'll be sending imps out into the wide world to buy these monsters and pets, take care of them, clean up their shit, and prep them for a show, which will allow you to win a game, right? Dungeon Pets has a wonderful theme. It's unique. It can be a little bit convoluted, a little bit complicated. There's some really odd mechanisms in there when you're using cards and stuff like that. It's sort of counterintuitive in a way. But again, being a worker placement game, this really does work best at 3 players because the competition for places, again, you're going to find it a little bit cramped at 4 players, right? There is a really good expansion for this called the Dark Alleys expansion, which adds more monsters, more stuff. And yeah, Dungeon Pets, we don't get it to the table much anymore because it is a little bit complicated and it's a bastard to teach, so really should get this to the table a little bit more these days. But we've had it for donkey's years and it's staying in my collection, and it really does work best at 3 players, you know. So number 3 on this list, why do I keep forgetting? Number 3 on this list is 7 Wonders. This is a card-based civilization building game by Antoine Bowser. This is one of our favourite games of all time. To be honest, I would play this at all player counts. I wouldn't play it at 2 because I'd be playing the 7 Wonders duel instead of that. But I'll be playing it from 3 to 7 players. But this does really work well with 3, because one of the aspects of this game is that you'll only be interacting with the person to the left and the person to the right here. And if you're playing with 3, that's all you're going to be dealing with, right? So it works really well. In 7 Wonders, you will be drafting cards and playing them into your tableau. You'll be getting resources through cards that will allow you to maybe construct your wonder, and you'll also have to keep an eye on the military aspect of your civilization, because if you don't, then the 2 bastards on the left and the right are going to come in and give you a load of shit. Yeah, 7 Wonders is one of the best games ever made. It's absolutely astonishing achievement from Antoine Bowser, and yeah, I always love playing this one. It only lasts for about half an hour as well, which is an absolute bloody bonus, right? So yeah, if you haven't played 7 Wonders, then yeah, just fuck off, really. So number 2 on this list is another game by Uwe Rosenberg. It is Le Havre, yeah. So in Le Havre, you will be taking resources from ships that enter Le Havre through a canal. You'll be using these resources to trade up and buy buildings that will give you special abilities. The one thing that makes Le Havre special is that all the buildings are visible at the beginning of the game, so you know what order they're going to come out in. But each game is different because the order is randomized each game. Like we keep on banging on about, if you play this with 4 or 5 players, it's going to go on for too long. Le Havre definitely works best with 3 players. I think that's the general consensus throughout the board gaming community, if that exists. This is one of Uwe Rosenberg's best games. Love the theme, love the way the mechanics work. I love the fact that the turns are very, very quick, and if you're playing with 3 players, it makes it even quicker. I love the wealth of buildings, all the different options that you get. It's just an amazing game. So yeah, that's our number 2. It's Le Havre. So number 1 on this list is a game that is exclusively for 3 players. You can play it with 2 players, but fuck that, why would you want to do that? You play it with 3 because it's meant for 3 players. It's Maria. This is a game that is based on the legendary game Friedrich, the 4-player war game. In Maria, you will be taking control of one of 3 different factions. You'll be moving your armies around the board, trying to take control of objectives by moving through them. Combat takes place with a regular deck of cards that you can only use in different quadrants on the board, because each quadrant has a different suit, so you can only use cards in battle in your hand that match the suit of the quadrant you're in. It's got a political system that you can manipulate, and it's also got historical events that take place that trigger different events in the game. Being a 3-player exclusive game, obviously this was going to be on the list, but that's not the only reason that it's number 1. It's because it takes the premise of a wonderful war game like Friedrich, puts extra meat onto the bones and condenses it down to the lowest common denominator, which is 3 players. Yeah, it's an absolutely astonishing game. It might look a bit shit to you, but in my head, and in most people I played it with, in their heads, it is probably, well, most definitely the best 3-player game that you can buy today. So there you go, that's our top 10 3-player games. Remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below. Hit the like button and all that shit. We'll see you next time.